Hello, and welcome to the Energy Connect studio at Future Energy Asia 2023. I'm delighted to have sitting next to me Anders Maltesen, Senior Vice President, Hub Division Manager, Energy Infrastructures Asia at ABB. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're so welcome.
Now, what is ABB Energy Industries doing to ensure reliance of supply and enable sustainability goals in the energy transition?
I mean, first of all, let's be clear that energy transition is a long-term thing. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be in 10 years. It's likely going to be 20 plus years before we will get to the end of it. So it's a long journey we are on. However, we are focusing, first of all, for a long time already on the installed base. So ABB has been the leader in creating the energy industry we have today, in both power, in oil and gas, in chemical refineries, and so on. And obviously, we have a lot of solutions developed, a lot of them digital. So we are right now focusing a lot on rolling out better power management systems to reduce the amount of power used for our customers' processes. But we're also running out a lot of digital tools, which is optimizing, doing something similar, but optimizing their processes with great results in different industries, right? And that obviously is reducing then power or improving their efficiencies in terms of output, again, bringing down the CO2 footprint for our customers' products. So that's on the installed base. Then the other thing you can do on the installed base is carbon capture. Just met the ExxonMobil guys. They have a great site in which we basically have a control system in Australia where they're working on basically how are they going to capture the CO2, and thereby they're able to basically bring in more natural gas if they are able to then carbon capture and then store it back in the depleted fields in Australia. And we are in that process too. We very recently, and I think that's very important in this world, is it's not a one company. It's not even one industry. It's all of us which has to collaborate with every stakeholder to get where we need to get to. So we recently signed up with an interesting company called Pace CCS. We have now a collaboration agreement. We're working on an end-to-end, basically digital twin solution to optimize the full end-to-end of carbon capture and storage. Really, really interesting because it's a very, very complicated process. And if you get it wrong, all your investments is lost. And there's already some cases out there in pilots where it failed. With these solutions, we'll be able together to guarantee that will not happen, and you will have a great payback, and thereby at the end of the day, a lower cost of CCS.
That's really interesting to hear. And I was going to talk about hydrogen, but I wanted to pick up a bit more about CCS. It's not a new technology, but what you're hearing is more of the industry is really focusing in on it.
Yeah. And the great thing, because we can basically go after the installed base, right? And that's one of the things. So maybe it can come a little bit earlier than hydrogen, which requires a lot of renewable energy to really make it efficient. But even hydrogen, we can use CCS. Coal gasification, same thing down in Australia. We're working with the Japanese, which is running a pilot, and they are going to focus on getting their clean hydrogen from a gasification of coal, and then using CCS to store the CO2. So another thing, using old technologies, making them greener. So fantastic. When it comes to new greenfield projects, we have a different play there in ABB. We basically have developed an adaptive solution, which is really focusing on reducing the time to market. So basically reducing the lead time for what we are doing. And on top of that, we basically then are working on optimizing with an ECTD approach. So electrical, controls, so automation, telecom, remote operations as an example, and then digital. And we see this is a real differentiator in the market, because until now the world has very much been built on electrical supply, controls, telecom different, and digital is different. We put all the four subjects together, and then we really work with our customers on optimizing the solution, not only for CapEx costs, but also for OpEx. And can we reduce the energy consumption? At the end of the day, less CO2 emitted from their process. So from Greenfield, we really want to be early engaging with our customer, adaptive approach, making their investment cycle shorter, ECTD approach, and thereby bringing down the CO2 footprint.
That's really interesting to hear. And we obviously touched on briefly hydrogen. Demand for hydrogen is growing. You can see it around the world. But how important is hydrogen to fit into this, low carbon policy agenda?
I mean, right now, hydrogen is on everybody's right front page. It looks like the wonder fuel, right? The solution of everything. I think it's just going to be one piece of the puzzle. We're early days. Hydrogen is not new either, but we never produced it green. Multiple ways, again, to produce hydrogen. ABB is there in the whole value chain. We are there in the production, but we are all the way there until basically distribution in the other end, and potentially in the production of clean energy using hydrogen. We have very interesting discussion going on in Japan with the Kawasaki, which actually linked down to what's going on in Australia. Because again, the world is connected, but it's different. This Japanese situation is very different, right? They do not have access to a huge amount of renewable energy because of limited land. Australia has plenty full. So great collaboration going on between the governments, between companies, where we're basically discussing how can we together optimize the solution, finding the right way of using hydrogen at the lowest possible cost. Because without getting the cost down, it's going to be expensive for you and me, right, to get our energy in the future. And I think the world obviously is focusing all the time on getting the lowest cost. But from basically production, we talked about gasification of lignite, brown coal. It's an old technology with CCS. We have basically using renewable energy, but it's a massive amount of the renewable energy which is needed, right? And then we electrolysis right up ABB's alley with rectifiers, right? This is all using our electrical capabilities with control systems. Then we work on basically the liquefaction of it. Minus 254 degrees. I forgot the LNG, but LNG is like less than half, right? And then you have ammonia, even less. Kawasaki, the one we work with, they've already built the first hydrogen carrier where they carry it liquefied. We have worked with them on this project already in terms of basically liquefying it in Australia, putting it on the ship, and then bringing it onshore again and storing it in Japan in the world's second largest liquefied hydrogen tank. Really, really interesting. And we have done a lot of the automation there, and we are working with them really on the next project, which is going to be much bigger scale, half commercial scale, on the end-to-end solution for hydrogen, from production all the way until the end, the consumers in Japan. So we are very, very excited about what's going on there.
Absolutely, and sounds as if busy times ahead with you in Asia then.
Very, very busy. All right.
And just before we go, we're in Bangkok for Future Energy Asia.
Yeah.
What's the importance of having a show covering the whole energy value chain in Asia that brings all the industry leaders and experts and governments together?
I think exactly what we talked about before. If we don't work together, all the stakeholders, we're not going to achieve the best outcome. And I think these kind of events is a fantastic opportunity for us to collaborate, meet each other. Sometimes we just don't know each other, but these events brings us together. And I think that's the biggest benefit, right? Meeting, sharing, creating new relationships, and then at the end of the day, we'll get better solutions.
Great to hear that, and I totally agree. Anders, thank you so much for coming down to the Energy Connect studio.
You're so welcome. Looking forward to see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for watching, and I look forward to bringing you more studio interviews from the show floor in the coming days.